Hey loves, welcome to my channel. My name is Luisa. How are you? Today, I'm going to be talking about how everything works out for our good. The good, the bad, the messes that we get ourselves into, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so if you're interested in hearing a brief story time where a part of my life, a time where everything went wrong and how God is faithful, I was trusting God, and somehow, some way, He made a way. So if you're interested in hearing that story, then please continue with this video. Do not forget to hit that like button down below. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel so you know when I post next. And yeah, let's begin. Okay, so as I said, today I'm going to be talking about how all things work together for our good. Yes, I pulled that from Romans 8:28. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll pull up the Bible verse here. Probably just actually down here, so you guys know what I'm talking about. But basically the Bible talks about how those who trust God, those who believe in God, how everything, the good and the bad, works out for our good in the end, that we are victorious. Okay, so first and foremost, a few years ago, I was in a position where I was looking for a new job. And I kept applying to all these different places, so on and so forth. It took about a year for me to finally land the dream job that I had wanted. And I was also in a relationship with someone that I really loved. Just to give you my family and I, we were good. My friends and I, we were good. Everything was beautiful, as you could say. So I started that job and I worked at that point in time. I had two different bosses and we don't really care about them, but it's just so you guys know the position that I was in. So basically for anything that I wanted to do, I had to deal with two different bosses, two different groups of people, completely different. So I'm at this job and there's this woman named Julia, was someone who technically was the lead person in our group. This is what I had understood. And for some reason, when I first started that job, I noticed that she cared too much about what I was doing that had nothing to do with my job. So if my assignment was, I don't know, take care of 7 projects, great. Then I'd say, I would like to go on vacation June, July, whatever. She would purposely do things to where it eventually created a hostile work environment. So I know that I couldn't really explain it that well, but it's just the little things. So if I told her I wanted to go on vacation July, usually it's just quick, yeah, sure, great. No, she had me waiting for weeks. And I'm sure some of you may be familiar with this if you work in the corporate world here in the US, or maybe in other parts of the world, wherever you're watching this. But basically, we don't always have friendly coworkers, friendly colleagues. And it really made no sense to me. And then I also, at that point in time, I wanted to take some courses for personal development that were relevant to my job in that moment. But I signed up for 2 courses. Now, apparently, because, rules can always be broken, apparently the minimum was only 1 course. But that didn't matter. The position that I was in, I was doing everything that was required of me to do. Again, working with 2 different groups of people. Finished everything not even just on time, in advance for the assignments that were given to me. So this is something that I really wanted. Besides the job, these courses were something that I was, like I said, personal development, because after 3 months or 4 months of working at this new job, I learned everything that you could possibly learn to do the job. That there was no more potential for growth. And I'm someone that likes to continue learning, whether it's reading, whether it's something for personal development or just learning about a certain subject. That's me. That's what I like to do. And so this is something that I wanted to do that, like I said, was relevant to my job. She ended up going to HR, going to 10 different people to try and stop me from taking these 2 courses. Now, does that make sense? No. What argument did she have? That it would have been too much time away from the work that I was doing, even though I knew and I told her that I was able to manage the 2 courses with my jobs and responsibilities. And here's the thing is, remember I said I worked with 2 different groups of people. So everyone else under the leadership team of these 2 groups was fine with my courses, with my personal development, with me going on leave, with me on sick leave, all these different things. They were fine with it. And the reason I mentioned sick leave is also, I remember one time I had to book an urgent appointment. Something had happened, something had come up, and I was like, I need to go to the doctor's now. She had messaged me, Luisa, next time you need to go to the doctor, you need to tell us in advance. Okay, but I can't tell you when I'm sick in advance. That doesn't make sense. If not, then I'm not actually sick. You see what I'm saying? So it's like these little things that just like, it doesn't make sense. You're just trying to interrupt me in my life and I'm fine and I'm happy. I'm doing everything I need to do. It doesn't make sense why you would try to stop me from doing things that literally have nothing to do with you. Right? Like, I'm sick. It's my health. I have to go to the doctor. I have to go get a checkup. It doesn't make sense. Sorry, I'm going to get way too passionate about this. But it's just little things that, at first and foremost, I was like, you know what? I can handle it. It's fine. First, the sick leave. Then the regular leave. I told you that was another thing that was an issue. Then it was, the other thing that was an issue. Me going on break. Okay, so this institution, like I said, had a lot of benefits. So for sick leave, for regular leave, for family leave, like so many different benefits. Besides just leave, I mean healthcare, so on and so forth. Loved it. And it didn't make sense to me. So the reason I mentioned, what did I mention? I already mentioned sick leave, I mentioned regular leave, I mentioned the courses, and I'm talking about my break. So I had decided, and I told my bosses at the time, I prefer not to take the break. I prefer to work through my break, which is supposed to be about an hour. But really they give us like 30 minutes and then they say they generously give you an hour. Anyways, so I was like, you know what? I'll just work through my break and then I can just go home early. Why? Because of the transport at the time. Like everyone gets out around the same time, 5:30. And if you can just get out beforehand, then you'll be home quicker, you know? So I had told my boss this. Again, my boss or bosses. He was like, Luisa, it's fine. Do it. I go after she had told me, by the way. So I had mentioned it to her. I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to just leave early if that's cool. You know, nothing to do. I finished all my work. A few days passed. I continuously do this because again, it's fine. So then she comes to me and she goes, you know, Luisa, I think you have to actually take your break. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I mean, you wouldn't want HR finding out. I'm sorry, am I doing something wrong? Literally, I'm taking my break at 5 so I can leave early and I'm only doing 30 minutes because regular break is 1 hour. So tell me how this makes any sense. Like, these are little things that like interrupt my workflow and my peace of mind at work because it's like everything that I was doing that I had to say, it was like walking on eggshells, making sure that she wouldn't use whatever it is that I'm trying to do in a way against me or in a way to like stop me from moving forward. No sense. No sense. Long story short, the issue got worse. Like she continued to do these things. My boss actually was of no help. And to which I was later informed that actually she was my boss. After 7 months of working at said place. You know, what? So how do you go into a place assuming that 2 people are your boss, you know, they're in the interview, all these things that tell you that you report to them, for them to then tell you, no, actually you report to this person. Without a promotion, no promotion given, just said it there all of a sudden. And I'm like, okay, so that was an issue, right? So if someone would have told me months ago that I report to Julia, then things might have been different. Still, not a positive work environment, but at least in my mind, I would have known, hey, I actually report to this person. You know, and like I said, Julia was the only person in the way of everything that I wanted to do that was a peace of mind, that was a break, that had nothing to do with the work itself. And she herself said, you know, I can never complain about your work because you do an excellent job. Great, thank you. So why are you getting in my life? Like, why are you involved in things that have nothing to do with you? No sense. At the same time, actually, run it back 1 second. For me, it became a hostile work environment. When I looked at the definition, we just actually had meetings with HR to go over like work environment, harassment, like all these different things as you would do in any institution. And I had felt that this had become a hostile work environment for me. I dreaded going to work to see this woman. And before it was different actually in the earlier months because I never had to be near her. You know what I mean? Like I was located because remember I worked with 2 different groups of people. And so I was actually situated in a different location. So I didn't have to deal with her on the day to day. Like sure, she could come and tell me, hey Luisa, how are you? You know, working on this together. Great. 5-minute conversation. She goes back to her desk and I don't have to see her again. But I was moved to a position where I had to see her on the day to day. Meaning she would know the moment I came in, the moment I left, the moment I went on break, the moment I did this, the moment I did that. Like the minute I went to the bathroom. Like this woman, if I took a little too long in the bathroom, that was also an issue. It's like, I'm sorry, I have to go. Like, so yes, this became a hostile work environment for me. So much so that on my way to work, I would cry on the way to work, like crying. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I can't. Like, it was the little things that eventually got to me, because it wasn't allowing, like I said, for a positive work environment and for a positive, it was interrupting my work flow. So like I said, I didn't want to work with her. I didn't want to deal with her. I didn't want anything. And my boss was of no help. And I can get into that later, but let's not talk about that. So at the same time while this is going on, I also remember I told you I was in a beautiful relationship. I still was in a relationship at this moment in time, but our relationship was falling apart for different things, different issues. So I didn't have a peace of mind at work, and I didn't have a peace of mind at home. If I was at work, I was upset and annoyed with this woman. Like, I would just have to be quiet. I put my headphones in. I'm like, let's just get through the day. 5:30, out, done. But the issue is that if it's not her, if she's like gone for the day, great. Then in my back of my mind, I was dealing with issues with my boyfriend at the time. So I'm thinking there, like, what are we going to do? We've been fighting too much, so on and so forth. And in my mind, and this is someone that at that point in time, I had believed I was going to marry also. So it's like everything just coming together. My family, I think everything was okay between my family and I at the time. They knew that I was struggling. They knew about Julia. They knew about a bit about my relationship, so on and so forth. But I was eventually put into a negative space, and I couldn't see a way out. Like, I was driven to the point where I was like, I think I'm going to quit. Like, I can't do this. And remind you, this was one of my dream jobs online. I say dream jobs because now, like, after the job, I strive for more things, you go on and so on and so forth. But it was my dream at some point. And here I am, about to quit. Literally about to quit. I was like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I went to HR. I told them, I was like, this is a hostile work environment. A hostile work environment for me. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we have to do something. And to tell you the cherry on top of all the things that she was doing was, remember I told you about my 2 courses? Or, yeah, 2 trainings really that I wanted to take, 2 development things I wanted to do for myself. She had gotten in the way and she had succeeded. Like, I was told I cannot take both. I took one or the other, which didn't make any sense because both of them were beneficial to my job at the time. So, I was like, what is the reason? HR had informed me that Julia had complained, that Julia was like, no, like, I think that's too much for Luisa. Like, who are you? I've been doing my job. Okay, enough talking about Julia, I'm getting all riled up. So that group, the second group that I was working with, I love them. I ran to them for, I guess you could say, for sanctuary. And they gave me great advice. They kept pushing me through a few. One of them was Christian. So she was like, Luisa, like, you need to pray. I was like, well, I have been praying, like, do not understand. But my relationship with God at the time was kind of back and forth. And so I was like, you know what? Her name is Rachel. I was like, you know what, Rachel, you're right. I'm going to pray. One morning, she also messaged me a song. It's called Raise a Hallelujah by Bethel Church. If you haven't heard it, you should. But basically, it's about praising God in the midst of the storm. About praising God in the midst of the pain. Knowing that though it seems impossible, God is going to find a way. And the song, when I listened to it, I kid you not, I want to tear up right now because I remember the time that I was in. But it made me cry, and I was there and I was like, God, like, I don't know what's going on. I felt that you gave me this job. You were with me. You're like, Luisa, I got you. Like, and then this is happening. Like, this doesn't make sense, and I'm sick and tired of this person and I don't know what to do. Okay, so part 2 of this story. So then at the same point in time, like I said, I was praying. I was like, God, what am I going to do? So on and so forth. Then I was informed there was a position opening up. So basically a position opening up was my same position, but in a different department, and I was like, I want it. And not only that, but I was more than qualified for it because I also spoke the language for that department. So what was needed at that time. And I was like, oh my God, maybe this is my way out. Like, maybe this is what I have to do. And at the same point, at the same time, the person my boss in that future department was someone that I had already worked with before that was my boss previously, things move around in companies, so on and so forth. So he had moved and I didn't have him anymore. And I was told, Luisa, like, you can't apply, the deadline has passed. I was, like, the moment I found out it was available was the moment that I'm pretty sure the day before the deadline had passed. And you know how HR is, or just in general, any HR for any company, they're a stickler for the rules and that's fine. But I was like, I need a way out. I need a way out. I can't do this. Like, please, if they can consider me for the position, that'd be great. It wasn't a promotion. Like I said, it'd be a bilateral move or a horizontal move. and not vertical. So the person in HR was like, okay, let me talk to this person. Let's see what they have to say. So they were talking behind the scenes, all these things, and I'm still dealing with this woman. I'm like, Lord, this is my only way out. I don't know, I need a change. And I kid you not, in the blink of an eye, she was like, Luisa, you got it. And I was like, okay, I don't know how I got the job because I didn't apply. I didn't have an interview. I had nothing. So it turned out that one of the bosses in that department had come to speak to me, which I knew of that person already. And I thought that when we were talking, I thought that was just a regular conversation, to get to know me. I didn't think twice about it. And actually, he was trying to do a language assessment. Like I said, remember, I spoke the language. But of course, anyone can say I speak this language and not actually be able to do so. So that was my test. That was my assessment. I was like, okay. And they didn't ask. There was no, usually, obviously, for any position, you go to references, you go to your previous bosses, so on and so forth. And so he didn't do that. Like I kid you not, when this was a quick and a smooth move, it was literally like, Luisa, you got it. Boom. Within 2 weeks, I moved. Did I have to deal with her again? Most certainly not. Thank God. So the reason I say this is because I was in a position where, as I told you, I was crying every day. I was like, I can't do this and I want to quit, And in that moment, obviously I was questioning God and I was like, God, you said you were with me. You said that you were for me. And right now it doesn't feel that way. And right now, nothing makes sense. You gave me this job. I asked you for it. I did everything that I could do. You gave it to me, hands open wide. And now I'm in this position where I could lose it. Lose it because I didn't want it anymore, basically. And at the same time that I had the issues at home with my boyfriend, this whole thing. And so when I heard the news, I was like, it was like a weight off of my shoulders. And I can honestly say that is when I knew that when God is for you, who can be against you? It doesn't matter what anyone wants to do, what they're trying to do. God is always for you, and though this was something that I didn't get myself in, this is a mess created by someone else. And obviously a lot of pain because I already explained to you guys what I was going through. But in that moment I knew, I was like, that's when Romans 8:28 came alive for me. Now I have many other examples where I can share that with you. And if you are interested, please look at my other videos that are called Messages of Hope, because I have many of them that talk about peace, that talk about peace in the storm, specifically talking about vision, talking about going forward, so on and so forth. Gladly recommend those videos. But yeah, it was just a moment that hit me where I was like, this is what God means when he says that all things work together for our good. So he knew before I got the job that this was going to happen, that of this woman, sorry, I'm raising my voice, about this woman, about my job, about the stress that she'd put on me. God knew all of that, right? And nothing happens in our lives without God knowing about it in advance, before we were born, before we came to be, And that in and of itself gives me peace, because if God knew about this issue before I even had it, that means that he also had a solution for it. So my hope here today, and my message here, is to tell you that there is hope. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter how bleak your life may seem or the circumstances may be at the moment. But God specializes in the impossible. And I have many other stories to share, but if I do now, this video will be 2 hours long. So my point here is in telling you that God literally does work all things together for our good. If I hadn't moved, I probably would have quit. If I hadn't moved, who knows where I would have ended up? Who knows what would have happened if I would have stayed? But God knew. He was like, you know what? This woman, Julia, she's got to go. Okay? But at the same time, God was like, I'm going to use this to push Luisa into the direction that I want her to be in. And I want her to be at peace at work. God does care about every tear that comes out of your eyes. God cares for you, for your dreams, for your desires, for your goals, whether it be relationally, career-wise, spiritually. Peace in and of itself is a goal and something that I've obtained, spiritual peace through Christ. And again, that's a separate video and I'll gladly go into that. But yeah, so that is essentially my message for today. Hope on against all hope. Continue moving forward. Do all that you can do. I don't know what your circumstances are. I don't know what's going on. Pray and trust God that all things will work together for your good. Believe me, I have so many more stories to share, and I'm like, because I'm also in the midst of another journey that I will share with you also in the future. So yeah, so if you have any questions on my story, if you want me to pray for you, please do comment that down below. If you, questions on my story, questions on, I guess, where I am now, where she is now, so on and so forth, then please don't hesitate to comment that down below and I will sure to respond. Yeah, so if you have any more questions on what I've just said, on my story, on things related to God, things related to hope, how to hope, kind of thing, how to begin that journey, so on and so forth. Or just even if you're here and you're just questioning things because you're in a rough situation and you don't see a way out, believe me, God has a solution for everything that you are going through at this moment. So yeah. Okay, so that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Remember, hope against all hope and trust God. Believe me, all things do work together for the good of those who love God. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to comment that down below, as I already said. Do not forget to hit that like button right here. Yeah. And do not forget to subscribe to my channel so you know when I post next. Any questions down below? Again, love you guys. God bless. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.